afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Wilderness Wargaming. Today we're taking a look at something from a couple days ago. There was Sisters of Battle won a major tournament, which is kind of unexpected. Sisters have suddenly been doing a little bit better. I don't think they're doing super great, but they have won a major tournament, so they can be piloted to a win by the right player, and they're evidently in a much better place than I think we thought after the last balance slate. I think the code's starting to get cracked on how to play them, and maybe what they really just need is a little internal tuning on a few units. Maybe not too much either, because some of those units that are a little overpriced now, you don't want to bring them down too much because it could make them overpowered, and we don't want to do that because we know what happens to overpowered factions. They get custodied. Let's take a look at the video here real quick. Oh, this is going to be 18 and a half minutes.
Welcome to Meta Watch, Games Workshop's regular catch-up on what's going on in the world of match play. And for this episode, we're heading into the grim darkness of the far future to take a look at Warhammer 40,000. And as such, joining us from the studio is Stalwart Stu. How you doing, mate?
Okay, I don't know.
Which is quite insane. And that's across events of all different sizes, rogue world, key things and the stratagems. So it was quite a big intervention, which is quite unusual. Normally we kind of refer to things like keyhole surgery, don't we? And we kind of
Okay, he's gonna. This is gonna be a long one. I'm not gonna look too much for the sister specific stuff, and I don't want to go through 18 minutes of watching their video. I just want to talk about this because, not gonna lie, sisters are the main army on this channel. Not the focus of the channel, but the army that I'm most inclined to talk about. So let's take a look right at this. This is the Tampa U.S. Open. It was a very big tournament. I believe over 800 players in it, if I'm not mistaken. And there was another winning sisters list not long before it that was not all that different. So let's see what we've got here. Okay. Morvenval, okay, St. Celestine, Juna Sororitas. So a trifecta of the three top battle sister characters there. A Palatine and an Image of Fire, who's carrying the litanies of faith around to do the thing with miracle dice. Three battle sister squad. I always like to see this. I hate to see army lists where the units that the army's about, like they're basically just non-existent. Sometimes you'll see this with armies like Death Guard, where there's like hardly a Plague Marine in sight, and it's all just other weird stuff. And sisters have occasionally, I think, had that in the past, where it was nothing but Ministorum stuff, and there's hardly a battle sister around other than a few characters and some vehicles, but not in this case. Three actual full battle sister squads. One with all have multi-meltas, but then for some reason we've got one with a Stormbolter, one with a Meltagun, one with a Flamer. I'm not quite sure why the different special weapon in all three. That's a little bit interesting. Two Immolators, one with Meltas, one with Immolation Flamers. One Retributor squad with 4 multi-meltas. This I'm a little surprised to see because I still consider the Retributors to be rather overpriced, but maybe they can't come. If they're doing this well, maybe they can't come down. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe that where the whole army is at, the Retributors don't need to come down that much. Two Castigators with the Battle Cannon. I like the Battle Cannon a lot better than the Auto Cannons. Two Mortifiers with Anchorite sarcophagi. Paragon Warsuits, obviously an escort for Morvenval. Seraphim Squad, I don't know if that was being used to escort St. Celestine, but I would imagine it would be. To escort her, I would rather have Zephyrim, since you're going to commit to melee. And I'd rather use Seraphim independently, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't escort her. That's just how I feel about it. Sisters Novitate Squad, two Flamers, Sacred Banner, Simulacrum, Imperialis. I wouldn't use the Simulacrum with them because I think you're taking away too many of your melee weapons there. Two Death Cult Assassins, Action Doers, obviously, and a Calidus Assassin for the things that Calidus Assassins do. Okay, directly. Now, one thing I want to point out, this is 1985 points. There's 15 points left, which I believe you could have got the Blade of St. Eleanor on the Palatine, and I think previous reports that I saw, the Palatine did have the Blade of St. Eleanor. I'm pretty sure. So I think there may be a slight mistake in what you see here on the screen. But I think when I looked at this on Goonhammer or somewhere else, that last 15 points was made up. But overall, I like this a lot. This is an army I could field a lot of this stuff. I could field everything on here except for Juna Sororita and the 2 mortifiers. So that would I could put out an army like this very, very easily. It seems like an army I would like to play. I actually wouldn't mind sacrificing Junith and the mortifiers for maybe something else. How much points did that give you? 210 extra points that you could shift around there a little bit. Probably would put in a Canoness in place of Junith. And then we'd maybe look at, I don't know, a squad of something else. Maybe a squad of... Well, there's a bunch of things at that price point. You could put in Dominions. You could put in Repentia. You could put in Sacrosancts. You could put in another battle system. A lot you could put in if you just didn't have exactly these right models and not distort it too much. But overall, I think it's a very well-balanced force. It's got a lot of Sisters infantry. It's got it's got a good selection of Sisters vehicles. Interestingly, there are no Exorcists in this list. None to be found. That might be what I'd put in, an Exorcist, for some indirect fire. And the Exorcist is a very, very good unit, but I think we are also seeing that the Castigators are doing super well. The Castigators, kind of its thing is it doesn't have a lot of armor penetration on the main gun. It's a little weak there, but high number of shots helps make up for that, even against single tough targets. Interested in the Meltas. I guess that's just to punch out a little more Melta. If you maybe have Combat Squad and one of the Battle Sister squads in there, and then the Flamer one, I would imagine you probably would put the Retributors in there so you can get rerolls in the wounds of the Retributors. Meltas are struggling right now for armor against armor because their strength is now low relative to a lot of tough vehicles, so they're wounding most vehicles on a 4, not 5 or 4 or 5. Probably more on a 5 than not. But with rerolls, suddenly that looks a lot more attractive. If you're getting 8 shots and you're wounding, let's say you're hitting with 6 of those, and then you're wounding with 2, but then you're rerolling those other 4, you're probably getting another 1 to 2 wounds out of that. And then the damage and the high AP is kicking at that point. So that's not too bad. Like I said, I'm not sure if the Seraphims were escorting St. Celestine. I would imagine Junith was leading one Battle Sister squad, probably Palatine and Image of Fire leading another one, and last one Combat Squad had to go run around and do actions and stuff like that, or take objectives. But overall, I like this a lot. Now, we also have second place, we had World Eaters, Angron, Lord Invocatus, Lord on Juggernaut, Master of Executions, Jackals, Corn Berserkers, Rhino, 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, Chaos Spawn, Chaos Spawn. So I don't know too much about how World Eaters selections go, except that this is kind of what you always hear about, but they have few enough units that nothing here particularly surprising. Moving down, let's look at the win rate. Ealdari remain on the top, although they're toned down to 57% now, so they're only slightly over the midpoint. Orcs, only slightly over the midpoint, but Orcs a bust-out faction, not one I would have expected to do as well as they have, but they're doing great. Leagues of Votann have come way up. Chaos Space Marines are doing great. Very happy about that. I'm going to be playing my Night Lords a lot, I think. And they are just at that sweet spot right now where they don't need a nerf, but they're doing really well. Tau have come up incredibly, doing very well. Black Templars are great for Marines. And then we're moving down into the ones that are in the middle of the pack. Chaos Knights, Deathwatch, Thousand Suns. Not doing as badly. They kind of dropped off the map a little bit after really riding high, but they're still doing decently. Chaos Demons, World Eaters in here in the middle. Adeptus Mechanicus, Death Guard, Space. Sororitas are all the way up to 49% from 41% before. Probably still maybe need a tiny bit of help, I'd say, on Retributors and Dominions. Maybe Repentia, but maybe a 5-point drop on each one of those now. I'm going to lower how much I would say. I would have said Retributors needed to come down another 15 points, but in view of what's happened, I'm going to say 5 points. They just need a little bit of a love tap down. Dark Angels, Tyrants, Necron, Marines remaining in 47, not great. Imperial Knights really got hit, not doing so hot. Astra Militarum at only 46, a little bit surprising. I feel like Astra Militarum should be stronger than that. Grey Knights, I would think they would need to come up would have been doing a little better. Adeptus Custodes really got hammered. Blood Angels also not doing too hot, and Drukari just I don't understand this. I thought Drukari would have been doing better, but it's possible that some of these cases they just have not been quite found their niche yet. Also, I don't think the Drukari nerf to Ravagers was appropriate. Yeah, they're using them in Inari. I got it, but Inari had access to so many different things. I don't think that nerfing that one was the right answer. But now one thing we can see is we don't have anybody below a 44. We had unit armies down in the 30s before, below the mid 40s, and we don't have anything above really the mid 50. 57 could be considered high 50s, maybe, but this is much more compressed into a healthy meta. This is a healthy meta. Yes, we have one faction that obviously needs help, two factions that obviously need a tap down, but not a heavy one, and everything will be within 45 and 55. I think this is the closest I think I've ever seen the game to truly balance. Just look at the only delta here between the highest faction and the lowest faction, how narrow that is. That is nothing like it was a couple months ago when we last took a look at this. But really, really great to see the Sisters have a bust-out play. I'm going to give as much credit as I can to the player. Partly self-servingly because I would like to see Sisters get at least a little bit more of a buff, but also because I don't think Sisters were getting any real credit, and this guy showed what they can do. I would love to know more about how he played the army. I'm going to need to look into that. But overall, just a great thing to see. So anyhow, that's where we're at. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, and click the notifications bell for more great content for Wilderness Wargaming. And we'll see you back here real soon. Bye-bye.